Hey guys, it's Maggie and I am back today, and today I want to talk about how we can still make stupid mistakes with our health and enjoy life and continue on. Recently I uploaded a video where I talked about some stupid mistakes I did and how it really impacted me. I wound up getting kind of nauseated and throwing up a little bit, and I also talked about some severe heartburn that I got, and I felt annoyed with myself because it was my own fault. I drank something I shouldn't have, and I took medication in a way that I just shouldn't have done. After I posted that video though, I got a number of comments from you guys saying, Maggie, you need to go easier on yourself. You're too hard on yourself. And it was a really great reminder that we are all human. We all are going to make mistakes. You cannot be a perfect patient. That is not a real thing. So let's talk about how we can kind of deal with it after the fact when we've had our fun and now we feel terrible. If you like this video, I would love if you subscribe to my channel, hit the thumbs up, like the video, follow me over on Instagram, that would be amazing. But let's get into how we can deal after the fact when we've made maybe not the smartest decisions. I think the first thing that you're going to recognize happening is when you start talking about how, oh, I went out last night and now I feel sick. You're going to get a lot of advice from family, from friends, maybe people on the internet about what you should and shouldn't be doing and how you need to be more strict with yourself. Now, fortunately, on my channel, many of you understand because you're in the same position as me. But when it comes to family and friends who may not be as familiar with a chronic illness or a chronic disease, they don't really understand quite as much. I've gotten a lot of advice, unsolicited advice over the years from family and friends. And, it's kind of that balance of being respectful and listening to their advice, even though you know that it may not be the best decision for you, and kind of respectfully telling them, you're not going to do that. I haven't quite figured out the perfect formula for that yet, but what I like to do is I just listen to the advice and remember in the back of my mind that I know my body best. I'm working with my medical team and they know the treatments best, and I just need to do what I need to do for me. And not everybody agrees. I'm on a biologic medication. Not everybody agrees with that. There are certain people that just don't like the idea of biologics. I am comfortable with them, especially after seeing the effects of previous medications on my body and the risks that it caused. The medication I'm on now, comparatively, is so much safer. And I also manage my diet in a way that I know works best for me. Obviously, I veer off sometimes and I make mistakes, but I know at least the foods that can help me feel better. I think it's really important to remember, too, that everybody is going to make mistakes. I mean, regular people have to make that decision. If their friends are going out, do they join them and risk the hangover the next day? Sometimes they do. It's very similar to us, maybe we want to go have that soda like I did, or do something else. You want to do an active activity where you're moving around a lot. Your body's going to pay for it the next day. But you're signing up for that. You're going to have your version of a hangover. So what I've done is I have a recovery routine for myself. This is like a hangover kit for regular people. It's all the things that I require, like physical items and things that I do that, should I maybe make not the best decision, I can remedy it as fast as possible and also be comfortable the next day. I have this routine down pretty pat. It's pretty simple for me, but this is going to look different for everybody. First thing I know in my mind is all the stuff that I need to recover, all the things that make me feel more comfortable, and I also know where I like to recover. So I mentioned in my last video that I came down in the middle of the night to sleep on the couch. Why is that? It's not because I don't want to sleep in bed with Zach. It's more so I'm not waking him up, but also I feel more comfortable on the couch or in my chair that's right over there because I can sit up a little bit better. And oftentimes when I wake up in the middle of the night not feeling good, it's because of heartburn or acid reflux. Sitting up is going to help with that. So I just feel more comfortable. So I know where I'm going, but I also know in my mind what I need to bring with me. And usually that's my favorite blanket upstairs that I sleep with, my pillow, and my heating pad. And if I had something to drink next to me in the bed, like a glass of water, I've got my routine where I put my pillow underneath of one arm, close that, hold my glass of water in the hand, and then I've got my blanket in the other hand. I might grab headphones, I'll grab my phone. I've got everything together. It would be a lot easier if I just had like a basket next to the bed. So that's a suggestion for you, just keeping a basket so you can throw all the stuff that you want in and make one trip rather than having to go up and down the stairs, because sometimes when you really don't feel good, you don't feel like walking around your home too much. I also keep in mind the foods that are generally safe for me, that make me feel okay or at least don't worsen symptoms. Because my illness is GI related, I get GI symptoms the most. That's how it works. So things like salted crackers, mashed potatoes, chicken, oatmeal, things like that. Things that are essentially baby food, I'm realizing. Squash, that works pretty well too. I should probably just get some jars of baby food now that I'm thinking of it. That would probably work pretty well. I try to keep at least some of this stuff on hand so that way, should I get sick, it's easy for me to access. I'm not cooking up something intricate. And I also keep electrolytes. I've talked about the electrolyte tablets that I use. I use Nuun, N-U-U-N, if you want to search for it. I can also put it below in the description, but it's an electrolyte tablet because I have issues with fluid absorption. And sometimes because of that, if my ostomy picks up, electrolyte imbalances. So if I take the Nuun, it helps me to absorb fluid a little bit easier, helps me to keep my electrolytes balanced and stuff. And I actually have that on auto ship from Amazon. I find that to be the easiest and arrives on my doorstep, so I always have a supply now. I actually have a ton in our kitchen drawer, and I like to cycle through the flavors. I don't like grape though, and I have like all of these unused grape canisters of it, so oh well. I keep it on hand because typically if I come down here in the middle of the night not feeling well, I know, let's get ourselves a cup of Nuun, a cup of electrolyte solution, because it'll make me feel better. It can help keep me ahead of dehydration, and you might find something different, more effective for you. You can buy Pedialyte, liquid IV, drip drop, things like that. I just use Nuun for convenience. I think that the tablets just throw it in the water and it kind of mixes itself. I really like that. Another thing that I like to do is keep the PRN, the as needed medications on hand, and that will look different for everybody. You might have certain pain medications that you use when you have a flare-up of symptoms. You might have anti-nausea medications. That's something I had talked about recently. I have Zofran and now Phenergan that, depending on the severity of nausea, I can use, which is very helpful. Also using ginger-related products to help with nausea, things like that. Keep them on hand. And I also tend to keep things like loperamide on hand as well, or other anti-diarrheal medications. Obviously, all these medications are ones that either my doctor prescribed or knows that I'm using, so make sure that you're checking in with your doctor and you're not just using medication to use medication. But yes, keeping them on hand, so if you're having symptoms that come up suddenly, whether or not it's because of something you did, having them on hand so you don't have to run to the pharmacy and get them is very nice. When you're not feeling good, you're going to want to do as little as possible, and just having everything already in your home is very nice. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is something that I have struggled with for a while, and that is communicating when I don't feel good. And I think it's because I don't like to make the focus of the conversation on me, but also on my illness. Because I just don't want to be the Debbie Downer. And I think that's why I have the approach of being very straightforward and matter of fact about my illness, because I really find that the way that I describe my illness, the way that I portray it, is how others who are unfamiliar with the illness will also portray it. So just like when I talk about my ostomy, very matter of fact, like, yep, this is what I have, this is why I have it, this is what I do daily, and it's given me a lot of freedoms in life. People will also perceive it that way if they've never heard about an ostomy. So that can be the struggle, especially when you are actively ill. I remember Zach and I went to visit his family in Maryland. This was probably like a year and a half ago, I want to say. And his whole family there, mom, dad, sister. And we also brought our friend with us. And I either ate something or drank something that totally did not agree. And I wound up having to go to the restroom, not because I thought I might throw up from it. I didn't. But I just didn't want people to see me kind of crumpled over. I was like hunched over in the bathroom. And I stayed there for like 20 minutes. So thankfully I had brought my phone, and I texted Zach and I said, I am currently sick in the bathroom. If anybody's wondering, I didn't leave. I am afraid to leave because I may throw up, I'm not sure, but I'm just in a lot of pain. So he was able to communicate that to the table. But had he not been there, I was thinking about what would I have done. And I think that my best bet would have been to, as I'm excusing myself, to go to the restroom, say, hey, I'm not feeling very good. I'm going to go to the restroom. So that way, if you do disappear for a long time, people don't think that you fell in or anything. They know where you are. And bringing my phone, I would obviously do that. So if I had somebody's number in the group of people that I was with, I would let them know too if things were getting crazy in the bathroom, It is really hard in those situations though, as somebody who doesn't want to make the focus of themselves their illness. I don't like talking about it a lot. I'm fine sharing about, if people are curious. Not everybody's curious. Not everybody wants to hear about your disease. So I will answer questions about it. I'm happy, but I don't like to make it the focus of me. I have many other interests. I am more than Crohn's disease, and so it becomes a real struggle when I'm actively experiencing symptoms and I have to peace out for a second and go deal with them. It's like, well, the focus is my disease right now, and I have to focus on it. I don't really have a choice. That can be really difficult, so it's something that I still struggle with. If you have tips, please leave them below in those situations, because it's rough. But another tip I want to give to you, and I think this is one a lot of us with a chronic illness that have many doctors can struggle with, and that is keeping up with a primary doctor, like a primary care, your regular everyday doctor. Because you're seeing so many different doctors throughout the year that it almost feels like you're being covered already. You're going to these appointments, like, wouldn't they care for you as a whole? And really the answer is no. I mean, they care for whatever their specific specialty is. It's really nice when you are experiencing an onset of symptoms in, a sudden amount of time or a short amount of time, and you have a primary care that you can go to, or maybe it's an urgent care or something like that, for when you're having these symptoms that, maybe you need a medication, or maybe you got an infection and you need something to handle that. It's really nice to be able to call them and get an appointment that is that week and not 6 months from now, like your GI or your endocrinologist or whoever. I try to keep up with my primary. I try to go to my annual visits to make sure that they're aware of everything that's going on with me. I always give them a brief update, and I tell them, here are the tests that I've gotten. You can see it in my chart if you want to look at them, just so they're aware. But there was one situation, this was during my kidney going septic, but we didn't really know what was going on. I was having a lot of nausea, and it wasn't just nausea. I was throwing up throughout the day, and it was multiple days in a row. And I couldn't quite figure it out, because it wasn't a stomach bug. I knew that. Totally didn't have that symptoms. I was able to stay hydrated for the most part. I was able to eat a little bit, but I just kept like having random bursts of throwing up, and it was multiple times a day. So fortunately, I was able to go to my doctor right down the street. Actually, Zach took me and they gave me a shot of Phenergan in my butt. Now, that knocked me out, but it allowed me to be way more comfortable than I had been for a number of days. It allowed me to sleep, get rest, and this was just at my primary care. And it was so helpful, and it was such a relief to know that they were right down the road should anything be going on, and they could help me just kind of symptom manage until I could get further care and further help for what I later found out was my kidney going septic, and that's a whole other story. And my last tip really is what you guys had shared with me. Go easy on yourself. We all make mistakes when it comes to our health, and sometimes we know we're making those mistakes as we're doing it because you need to be able to live your life. If you want to go have a drink or you want to go have that soda or whatever, know that you are not the first patient in the world with your illness to make the same mistake. We will pay for it. We're going to have to deal with the consequences afterwards. It's just part of life. But I think every person, whether or not you've got a chronic illness, has to do this. And so figure out how you can handle afterwards, how you can manage things afterwards for yourself with some of the tips that I've given you, some of your own tips, and don't feel too bad, because I've been there way too many times. Let me know if you have any more tips for dealing with the consequences after you make mistakes with your health, and thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys.